Welcome to the Random Bites podcast, available on Spreaker.com, iTunes, Google Play, and just added to iHeartRadio. A new podcast every day featuring interviews and a unique take on the world we live in. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Random Bites. Here is your host, Alan Wayne. Kiss stealin', wheelin' dealin', jet flyin', limousine riding, son of a gun. Diamond wearing, gold chain wearing, a man with practically no equal in this business is the nature boy Ric Flair. Welcome to Random Bites, episode 42. I am your host, Alan Wayne. And tonight, come to you live on the air on Spreaker.com, or, if you so please, you can catch this and the other 41 episodes of this program on iHeartRadio. Tonight, I felt inspired to come on and talk about the man. That's right, the man. Talking about Ric Flair, who went into the hospital on Saturday for what his management company considered to be routine maintenance. Turns out, things took a turn for the worse, and this morning, he was in a coma. Now, this year so far, and allow me to speak personally for a moment, this year has been such a shitty year for me, and I can't even put it into words how garbage this year has been so far for me. I've lost two very important people in 2.5 months, and when I heard this morning that Ric Flair was in a medically induced coma, it was just like, all right, what else can happen? Now, a lot of you folks may not know, but I've had a lifelong affinity for wrestling. I grew up with Hulk Hogan. I had the little rubber figures as a kid. I had the thumb wrestlers. You guys remember the thumb wrestlers? Big WWF fan. As I got older, I got into WCW, the NWO. Got into backyard wrestling for a while. Got into e-fetting, which is where a bunch of creative writers come together, create a character, and basically have matches where they're judged on their writing. The matches are written. It's very, very geeky in a way. But it's a great outlet for those of us who can't exactly make it to wrestling. for the WWE or anybody else. So, but this isn't about me. This is about Ric Flair, the man. Ric Flair has survived a ton of stuff in his life. In the 70s, before he became the mainstream darling that he has become over the years, he was involved in a plane crash that nearly took his life. In fact, little known fact, he has a bump on his back from that. It's pretty well hidden by muscle, but yeah, he broke his back in this plane crash, and yet he came back to be the best wrestler, arguably, of all time. Certainly the best sports entertainer, up there with Shawn Michaels, up there with Hulk Hogan, up there with some of the legends of the sport. Ric Flair is iconic. Ric Flair is Babe Ruth. Ric Flair is Johnny Unitas. Ric Flair is a legend. He's the only man to have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame, twice. Twice. It's amazing. And you can tell a person's impact by what their colleagues say about them. Dolph Ziggler went on and basically wrote a 4-paragraph essay on what Ric Flair meant to him. Big, long essay. So, the Iron Sheik on Twitter wrote, "Only one Ric Flair, only one Iron Sheik. We break the Earth's back, the Earth never break us." Scott Hall wrote on his Twitter page, "Come on back, Flair, and kick out at 2.5 like you always have." The Miz, "My thoughts and prayers go out to one of my heroes. To be the man, you have to beat the man, and nothing beats Ric Flair." I mean, just the tributes just go on and on and on, from John Cena to, numerous names in wrestling. If there is one thing everybody can agree upon, it's that Ric Flair is the man. This guy wrestled with a certain intensity that, it was this intensity and this fire and this drive. He was such an amazing performer when he was in the ring. And he's an amazing performer in the ring now. Whenever he does his spots or comes on for the rare appearance, he entertains the fans like no others. In fact, he has been hired to give speeches to sports teams, inspirational sports teams, because of his delivery and the way he speaks. Ric Flair is a 16-time world champion. Ric Flair is a multiple-time legend with various different companies. Started out, I believe, in the USWA, then was with the NWA, then came to WWF, bounced around for a little bit, spent a bunch of time with WCW. All the while, as he grew older, he aged like fine wine. And as the years came on, and he remained active in the ring until he was 64 years old, ladies and gentlemen. This guy, and he could still go. Let's be honest, it wasn't pretty to see him in the tights, but he could still go. And when he got that figure 4 leg lock on you, it was over. Some of my favorite moves from Ric Flair: the chop block, the eye gouge, the low blow, the dirtiest player in the game, all added to this mystique of Ric Flair. The word legend almost seems hollow when mentioning a man of this stature. Now, as great as he was, he had a lot of bad times. He'd been married about 5 times. He did a lot of carousing and lifestyling. He would go out there in limos and just live the life. He would play the part. Actually, the part was who he was. And who he still is. His plane rides with the 4 horsemen are legendary. Private jets, women, champagne flowing. Some of the best lines from Ric Flair include, "I've spent more on spilt liquor than you spent on your entire house." Another couple of lines, of course, the limousine riding, jet riding, high styling, profiling, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun. Ric Flair. He could cut a promo with the best of them. I mean, as I said before, he was putting out like motivational speeches for sports teams. This guy, something else. And to hear that he was hospitalized, it's like, no, not Rick. Not this man who, just recently lost a son. Not this legend. It's such a damn shame when, God forbid, we lose a legend, but when a legend is in medical distress, hospitalized, something like that, it makes us really examine our own mortality. Because I don't know about you guys, but I view these wrestlers as practically immortal. And to see someone like Ric Flair, who seems like couldn't be kept down by anybody, wrestling into his 60s, legendary, still the man, well into his 60s, to hear he was in the hospital, it's kind of like watching God fall from the sky. You're worried, I was very worried about Ric Flair. I still am. But latest word is he's resting comfortably. It was not a heart issue. And he's recovered the surgery was a success, and there's hope for his recovery. And I got to tell you, I know that when that sad day comes that Ric Flair goes to meet his maker, it's going to be just like it is everywhere Ric Flair is. He's going to be holding court with God. He'll be sitting up there. God's going to be like, "Rick, welcome." And Rick's going to be like, what's he? I probably do the worst Ric Flair impression, but "You know something, God?" Oh, that's terrible. "Woo! It wasn't my time, God. You took me away from a good thing. Woo!" I can't do Ric Flair. I'm not even going to try. But, yeah, it's just like Ric Flair, from what I understand, wherever he went, he holds court wherever he goes. People come up and just want to talk to him. And he engages with every fan. Never been a dick to any fan. This guy seamlessly blends arrogance with a kind of godlike aura, and yet he's cool as hell. He takes pictures with people, does everything. Very humble, knows where he came from, and loves the sport of wrestling. I can remember his great matches with Sting back in the day. Great matches with Hulk Hogan. Had some really good matches with Terry Funk. And I'm not ashamed to say it. There's only a couple of times I've cried in sports. There's only a couple of times I cried in sports. There was that one time where I got hit in the nuts with a baseball bat. But, I was kind of wondering why someone would bring a baseball bat to a golf tournament. Anyway, second time I cried, and it was sports related, was Ric Flair's retirement match. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, two of the greatest. WrestleMania 24, if I recall correctly. And it was Ric Flair in his final, if he lost, he retired. Goes through a brutal match where he goes with one of the best workers that has ever graced the squared circle in Shawn Michaels. Flair gets up in the middle of the ring, puts up his dukes. You can tell he's groggy. You can tell he's almost done. And all that Shawn Michaels does is lip the words, "I'm sorry, I love you." Super kick, bam, done. What a lot of people don't understand about wrestling, it is exquisite theater. And Ric Flair is the grandest thespian of them all. You know how you get invested in actors and their characters? Well, that's how wrestling fans feel about Ric Flair. And I know it was only 16 minutes and some change, and I could go on and on and on. But Rick, all I got to say is, get back, brother. You got a lot of people throwing prayers and good vibes your way, man. You're still the man. And I feel you're going to be styling and profiling for many years to come. Remember to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play, and remember to look us up on iHeartRadio. Also, become a part of the radio revolution by donating on Patreon, www.patreon.com. Just look for the Random Internet Radio Show. And don't forget, you can hear the Random Internet Radio Show live every Saturday night only on Spreaker.com. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, always be random.